think that their contact was purist. And of course, I believe that the contact was actually transduced through Don Elkins, that he was the connector, and then their trance channel, Carla, telepathically was able to pull it from Don's mind and speak it. And that this was, kind of a convoluted way of getting this material out. Because, of course, once Don died, Ra never came again.
Yeah.
So that was, I analyzed their work, very closely, and I understood that if you restrict, if you make a judge, once again, what happens is it's like the thing with sex. If you have an idea of how something ought to be based on your emotional belief about it, say your emotional belief about a person who you have an idea how they should be, and how your idea is a lie, you see?
Yeah.
And if you believe so firmly that, the world is such and such a way, and that any words that are spoken that describe this world in terms other than what you have decided a priori is the correct way it ought to be, you are believing a lie, and you will attract that kind of energy. I think Don knew. He understood the world was not the way we think it is. He was too smart a man. His commentary about the world, his experiences, his observations, tell us, and he was very interested in asking some of these questions, but the other members of that group wouldn't allow those questions to be asked because it wasn't, quote, of the highest and the best. It wasn't nice. You see, and of course, nice is really kind of subjective. First of all, second of all, nice is a value judgment. And when you make a value judgment about some of these things, you are required to make a value judgment in your actions and your behaviors. But when you make a value judgment about the universe, about the reality, about what exists, that good and evil must exist, coexist, interact in a dynamic way in order for creation to exist, you are basically judging God.
Yeah, I think that would be true.
And it's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
So you don't necessarily subscribe to that view that good and evil must coexist and interact like yin and yang to create the world and reality?
Oh, yeah, I do. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that we are obliged to choose which part of it we are going to enact ourselves.
Right.
But to choose to judge the other part as being wrong, or that it has no right to exist, is essentially judging half of God.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy-duty statement, but it's something one should have to really consider that might be true.
Yeah, so these are all the things that we had to deal with as we got into this channeling experience, and a lot of it gave us a foundational view of things. It gave us clues to follow. They, of course, would not answer many questions because, in some cases they told us it would violate our learning experience, and others it would endanger us, for different reasons. But most of the time, if we just ask a question with no anticipation as to what the answer would be, no preconceived notions, they would just tell us the truth. This is what it is. This is how it is. It was quite, we've been channeling since 1994, 6-7 years. So it's
been, you feel like that you've gotten nothing but reliable information from them?
For those, I'd say probably, if you exclude all of the commentary of other people that are at the sessions that's included in the transcripts, I'd say the accuracy rating probably goes up into the 80s. They themselves gave only like a 76, 77%, I believe. I don't remember what the exact number was. But then what they were describing was the published material at that point.
Right.
And they did point out, because there were a couple of occasions when we had people who attended the sessions who had really strong emotional beliefs, and their emotional beliefs very often blocked the receiving of any information at all because, they simply couldn't give a response in the face of that energy. It would have been discourteous, and it took me a while to understand that it was discourteous discourteous, that, to tell someone an answer that is contrary to their belief is an act of discourtesy. Even if it's the truth, because the person is not asking for the truth. A person who doesn't ask for the truth, it's discourteous to tell it to them. It's not an act of true giving. So we learned that the way to get the most truthful and the deepest responses was to be as empty of expectation or prior beliefs when we asked our questions. And the way to do that was, of course, to just play. Let's go in and let's do the channeling, and let's leave our expectations and our beliefs at the door, and let's just see what they're going to say.
And trusting that the proof would be in the pudding, so to speak.
Well, they always tell us, check things out. Do not believe us because we tell you. Do your research. And this has been, the continuous urging that they have done. And this was kind of a funny thing, because I remember there was some information that was being sent around from another, quote, channel source, one of these alien space brother types. And my husband's a scientist, and the information was supposedly about something that had to do with physics. They wanted his opinion. He wrote back, and he said, well, it's nonsense, and here's why. And the woman wrote back to him, how can you say it's nonsense? It's channeled. You don't have to check it. Oh. And it's like, what? Excuse me? So that's the general attitude. But essentially, we've just come to this realization over this long period of time doing this research, following these clues, that when the movie The Matrix came out, my son came home and after watching the movie at the theater, and he says, Mom, you got to see this movie. It's everything the KCPNs have told you. It's the whole world the way they've described it. Oh. And I said, no, you don't know what you're doing. What does an 18-year-old kid know, right? Well, it took a while before it came on video, because my husband, we don't go out much. Going to a theater is not our idea of a fun time. We like to have the video and lay in the bed with the remote control so we can rewind, fast forward, or whatever. So the video came out, we watched the movie, and we completely freaked out. I mean, it was like, except for the fact that they described the Matrix as a computer system, it was exactly the same. It was, even right down to the remark about, when the cat went by the room, deja vu is a sign that the program has been changed. This was something the Cassiopeians had said to us several years earlier. They said, deja vu comes to you courtesy of the fourth density self-service beings. When they change the program, deja vu occurs. It's a reality bridge. And
whoever produced that movie, The Matrix must have known something.
Well, it freaked us out completely, that's for sure, and we watched it, and even the ideas of time itself, the ideas of our reality and how you can free your mind, become free. And this is the one thing that the Cassiopeians have been, teaching us about, is to, number one, free your mind from the idea of time, because time is part of the prison, it's part of the control system, the idea of linear time. Linear time is a construct that was imposed on us through monotheism. And remember, these guys are time travelers. They can go back in the past and create religions that fall forward into our reality like dominoes.
Oh, that's interesting.
And what's even scarier is if we start getting close to figuring something out as a group or as individuals, they can go back into the past and change something about it so that what we have figured out is no longer valid. And if you're not really paying attention, they can do it and get away with it.
They can literally go back and change some things in the past so that the future works out different, and then the present becomes different.
Yeah. And if you're not paying real close attention,